Okay, sorry, I had to pause there for a second. Again, this was a matter of safety, though. That part angered me, though. How in the living hell are you going to tell me to do my job when you can't do yours? Uh, you're in no place to tell me to do my job if you're willingly going to let one of your employees get hurt. You're willing to let that happen. You're not going to stand up for them. You're not going to help them. You're going to stand there looking at the floor with your head down. Now, to be frankly honest, kind of a bitchy moment, but I did tell him that. I told him, like, I'm sorry, you weren't doing yours. It was a violent situation. Someone had to stand up and be an adult there. The customer wasn't going to do it. You weren't going to do it. I did it. In a way, it probably seems so stinking stupid. But the whole magnitude of the situation was awful. Now, after that, he's done this many times before, too. Not just with the DoorDash situation, but a couple of others. Which he has said, like, you're definitely doing your job wrong. You have trouble with my authority. And I will make sure our general manager knows that. Normally, he doesn't say our general manager. He actually says his name. But again, I'm not going to mention names here. That whole thing of, like, you've had problems with my authority, I'll make sure our general manager knows. And then, a couple minutes later, I'll make sure he terminates you as soon as he sees you tomorrow. Now, I immediately said to him, like, if you start trying to spread lies again, I'm putting in my 2 weeks. And it looked for sure he was going to do that, so I went ahead and did it. I put in my 2 weeks. However, wasn't going to back down. Again, it already made me uncomfortable that he made me accept someone else's ID. That's illegal. He's done it many times before. Well, customers won't have an ID or they just won't want to get it out for some reason. It's retail. It happens every single day, if not multiple times every single day. And normally he won't do anything about it. He'll just type in their birth date from verbally whatever the customer tells him. He'll type in his own birth date to bypass the age restriction thing on the register. He's made me type in my own birth date before they get past customers. Whenever I get customers who are doing that same thing. Now, when I told our general manager about this, he did try to say, like, well, management can make the call of, like, if the person looks old enough, they could just take their word for it. Yeah, the state board isn't gonna like that. You're supposed to ID them no matter what. Doesn't matter if you can take their word for it or not. Doesn't matter if you're management. It's illegal. It's illegal in our state. I'm sorry. ID them no matter what, especially if it is tobacco, cigarettes, whatever, or alcohol. You have to ID them. They must have an ID, and it cannot be expired. That is very, very, very serious. He breaks that every single day, multiple times a day. So I blew the whistle on that. I immediately sent an email to Ethics and Compliance. Now I will say their investigation into it so far has not been very fruitful. I'll go into that in a different video. Anyways, that whole situation just made me literally say, like, I'm done. You don't care about your employees. You don't care about your employees. You were willing to let me get hurt. Oh, he's an awful person. Every customer that comes in, he accuses them of stealing. Except for like one person that works for corporate who comes in from time to time. He will accuse everybody of stealing. He will go directly up to their face and say, like, hey, did you just take something and put it in your bag? He'll go directly up to them and accuse them of stealing. Now, where I work, that technically is against policy. You can't do that because it's actually a safety risk. Because guaranteed, yeah, if you go up to somebody and you accuse them of stealing, they're probably going to freak out and probably try to hurt you. Or, like, push you down and try to run out the door once they know they're in trouble. He will accuse every single customer of stealing. He has accused multiple customers of being on drugs. Even if they come up and they're like, FSA or HSA card doesn't work, they don't really know why, or even like that. Even when DoorDash drivers come up and their red card's not working, he'll accuse them of saying, like, did you spend all the money that was on the card on something else? He's used worse language than that, by the way. He has said worse things. I am not going to repeat them. Something else that he does that I hate. A very large amount of customers who come into our store are Indian. Meaning many of them have an Indian accent. He will mock their accent. When they first walk into the store and he hears them talking, and when they go to leave, he'll mock them. And again, I'm not going to repeat what he says. I'm not going to do that. But it's disgusting. If you are a leader, you don't act like that, especially when the customer is still in the store. You don't do that. You can do it at home probably as much as you want. You can do it in the privacy of your own home, probably your car as much as you want. Don't do it at work. Especially do not do it where the customer could hear you. Don't do that. Another thing. He refuses to help me in photo. Again, I did mention I finally got to work in photo only about 3.5 months ago. He refuses to help me. Including, like, even times where I desperately need to run to the bathroom because I'm incredibly sick because I have gastroparesis. He will scream at me, not let me go to the bathroom, make me help someone in photo because he doesn't want to do it himself. Normally he'll be sitting in the office on his phone. or possibly doing outdates, I will say that. But if you're doing outdates, it is something that you can stop and finish later. They are important. Outdates are important, but you can stop them. A few weeks ago, something pretty bad happened. Another thing about him. I said I wasn't going to do these in this video, but I might as well give you a couple stories. Now, I have a birth control implant in my arm. I have the Nexplanon implant. I had to get it taken out and a new one put in a few weeks ago, about 3-4 weeks ago now. Went pretty well, but because I was getting it replaced, they had to cut a slit in my arm to take the old one out. And didn't have any stitches. I only had some steri strips on my arm. However, arm still hurt. Wound was still pretty fresh when I went back to work. It's not like the most major thing in the world, but you still want to be careful with it. It is my non-dominant arm, but still, you don't want to, it's not something you really want to mess with too much. I knew that going into work. Our general manager knew that. Everyone knew that. If somehow you didn't know that, it became obvious because I had a big bandage on my arm to protect the procedure site. Now, one evening, we were kind of busy. It was like 7:50 to 8 p.m. We got a order in photo for an 11 by 14 poster. The poster itself takes probably like 5 minutes. Probably even less, to be frankly honest. Now, I had already put I think I had the canvas paper on the printer, so I had to take that off, and I had to put the poster paper on the printer. I go to do that. It's loaded, it just needs to be fed through the printer. At this time of the evening, I'm having to pretty much run the whole front end of the store. I see a customer go to register 1, and I ask, smartass, like, hey, can you feed the paper through the printer for me? And he says, no, I have to do this curbside order that just came in. Well, not curbside. In-store pickup. The order had just come in. It probably takes 1-2 minutes to feed the paper into the printer. 5 minutes to print, but it probably takes like 1-2 minutes to feed the paper. We have 30 minutes. 30 minutes to do the in-store orders. He was flat out refusing to help me. Now, I didn't want to have to keep running too much between photo and the register, simply because of my arm. I didn't want to have to move my arm too much and risk, like, moving my bandage too much. The dude, like, flat out refuses to just feed paper into a printer. And then he says, leave it for morning shift. We have 2 hours before we close. 2 hours before we close. Morning shift's already gonna have to do everything that came in overnight. So that's extremely rude for me to leave something there that would only take 5 minutes. It's rude. It's ridiculous. Eventually, obviously, I got around to doing the order. Probably about 15 minutes after the order was done, the customer came in to pick it up. They had told me they were actually waiting for it to get done. That's something else about photo. A lot of times, the customer might actually be waiting for their stuff to be done. For whatever reason. So I try to get them done in a timely manner, all the orders done. Yeah, that's a lot harder when you have a store floor leader who doesn't support you. gonna have to calm down for a bit. I'm gonna keep working on my project here. Now, something I will say that my parents have told me, my last job and this one, yeah, you're not gonna like every one of your coworkers. Here's the thing. When your coworker that you work with pretty much every single day, because they're a store floor leader, they're a manager, they're there every single day. Possibly I get a couple of days where they're not scheduled and I don't have to deal with them, but I digress. Like 90% of the time, I do need to deal with them. There's no way for me to avoid that, unfortunately, with the location I work at currently. When it's someone who let a customer try to hurt you, someone who doesn't support you, does illegal stuff, is outright rude to customers, and is overall that bad of a person. And I should mention, by the way, that I didn't finish this, I'm sorry, and I'm tired. That thing about feeding the paper into the printer, I did end up having to run to register one. He won't let me ring anybody up in photo, annoyingly enough. I had to run to register one. Moving my arm like that did make it bleed quite a bit. That was incredibly uncomfortable. That's why I didn't want to have to do that. Yeah, when it's someone who I can't avoid, they're doing illegal stuff, they're willing to let me get hurt, they would probably prefer I get hurt. They threaten my job. They try to get me on job abandonment so many times, a lot of the times because I have a chronic illness that I cannot control and has gotten significantly worse because of him. That is something that I will not stand for. I can't stand for that. Believe me, I've reported him. For every single thing he's done, I've reported it. Not much has ever happened. Annoyingly enough. To be frankly honest, at this point in time, he's such a horrible person. He can't be fixed. Or if his attitude can be fixed, my efforts aren't doing anything. No matter what I do, no matter who I report to. There's not much I can do. And to be frankly honest, I don't think he's worth my time. His attitude and his problems with how he treats me, treats the customers, that's not my problem. He can dig his own hole. I'm not gonna help him out of it. I'm sorry, like, it's not a situation that I can deal with in that case. I'm incredibly physically and mentally ill. I have depression, anxiety, and a few other things, unfortunately. It's not something, I don't need that stress. It's not something I need in my life. And just, no. It's at a point where I have to put my foot down and I'm saying, no. You're willing to let me get hurt? That's a massive final straw. Just absolutely not. Not a lot of places around me are hiring at the moment. There's one that I found that I'm kind of hopeful for. Knock on wood. In a way, by the way, I would like to stay at Wal. I'm not going to say where I live. Where I work. Or at least I'm trying not to give out the location of where I work. I am kind of disappointed that I am leaving so early. Every job I've had so far, I've had to leave after like 8, 9 months. Normally for the same circumstances. I'm being harassed, someone's doing something illegal, they're trying to pull me into it. A couple of jobs ago, if you go on my Reddit profile, you'll see I worked at PetSmart. I ended up getting physically assaulted by my managers there. But my managers is worse than a customer, to be frankly honest. That's one reason I left there. But the point of the matter is, I've never been able to have a job longer than like 8 or 9 months because of stuff like this, and I hate it. In a way, I would really hate to leave so soon. And that probably looks horrible on my resume, that I keep leaving jobs so soon. But I'm sorry. I'm not going to be the type of person who deals with illegal crap, with a horrible, hostile environment like that. It's toxic. And even with my depression, how much I think I should just deal with it, I'm sorry. If anything, it's making my depression and anxiety worse. Anyways. Kind of moral of the story. I am at a job that I am needing to quit. I'll have quit. Where pretty much I had to step up and be an adult because our store floor leader couldn't. Well, he probably couldn't. It's that he wouldn't do it. And I'm not going to put up with that crap. So thank you for listening to me. Probably have a lot more stories to come.